First and foremost, I want to say thank you so much for coming to look at my video and coming to my channel. I have a very hard story to tell you, but this is a part of my healing and a part of my process to become the queen that I was born to be. So I have to get this out, and I have to get this out to as many moms as possible. Realize, disclaimer, this is a very hard story for me to tell. So if it seems like I am fumbling over my words or I am having a hard time getting through this story, it's because I am. But it's necessary. So without further ado, here's my story. A year ago, I flew to Texas to shield myself from COVID. At the time, I was pregnant with twins and my husband was on deployment. And I felt like the best thing to do was to fly home to Texas. So I left everything behind and I got on the first flight running to Dallas, Texas, and I flew home to my mother. You know, I was coming into relaxation. I was coming into comfortability. I was coming into a bunch of different things. My life was changing. I was pregnant with Marcelo and Maria, and I made sure that I was documenting every single thing, every step of the way. Many people know Charles and I, and they know that our story is kind of like a fairy tale. We met in Spain while I was still in the Navy. I was on the ship for 5 years. He came in at year 3, I think. And as soon as I saw him, I fell in absolute love. He is definitely the most beautiful man that I've ever seen in my entire life, internally and externally. With that being said, we met and sparks flew, and I'd say about 2 years later, we were married and on our way. I had gotten out of the military, flew and followed him to San Diego, California, and that's where we are now. With that being said, my journey and my internal life changed for, I'd say for the good. And before you know it, I was pregnant. And something in my body, something in my mind, something in my soul told me that I was pregnant with twins. I announced it on Instagram. I announced it pretty much everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. Announced it that we were pregnant with twins, but this was after I sent him a message via Facebook Messenger and told him that we were pregnant with twins. This was in January. 3 months later, I flew home to Texas. My mom called me the day before, so this was March 21st. She called me the day before and told me that COVID was spreading, something bad was getting ready to happen, and that I needed to go home. That night, that conversation is the moment that I went online, booked the first ticket home, and flew to Texas March 22nd. I think I was home probably about 10:30. So I'm at home in Texas. I am comfortable. I am in my mom's brand new house that she just bought. And you know, we're literally on the TV watching COVID unfold. Like, sis, like, it's bad. Highways are shut down. Everything's shut down. Everything starts to shut down. Like, that's it. That's all. Like, for real. Like, that's it. It's done. It's a done deal. And COVID is here to stay. This was March. So March, April, May go by, and I'm just growing. My twins are growing, and I am starting to I'm starting to walk into the realm of motherhood. I start to feel them move. I am starting to feel their kicks. We've named them Marcelo and Maria. Maria sat right underneath my rib. I think that's very ironic. She sat underneath my rib, and they were night and day. Marcelo would move during the day, and Maria would move during the night. They moved when they heard their daddy's voice. He would call me from the ship while he was on deployment. And we formed just this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful bond. My body started to hurt as I grew. I am naturally a very slim person, but as I grew larger, I started to feel everything that came with pregnancy. You get the headaches in the morning, you get backaches, your body feels differently, your hormones are changing, everything just started to completely overtake me. But I loved every minute of it. I would communicate to them, I would sing to them, I would make them know that mommy was here. As that moves forward, I start to have these premonitions. I start to have these visions. I start to have these dreams that there's only one baby. I would dream of Marcelo. I dreamt of him being delivered to me in one of those mailboxes. It was like not an actual mailbox, but the box that you get from CVS. Not CVS, from goddamn, from the post office. The red, white, and blue ones. I dreamt of him being delivered to me in one of those boxes, and he looked like an old man. I didn't understand why he looks like an old man, but he looked like an old man, and I looked at him in my dream, and I said, where's your sister? Like, why are you alone? What's going on? And why are you in a box? But I didn't understand it. So as the months progress, my family and I start to plan my baby shower. So my baby shower was planned to happen that weekend. So I believe this was June 15th. We planned for my baby shower. We planned for everything to happen on time. My mom and I were fixing up the backyard. We were, just buying things off of Amazon. We were ready. We were absolutely ready. My mom has a pool in the back, and we decided to go swimming. I just dipped around for a little bit, and went on about our day. June 16th, 2020, I woke up feeling like my stomach was a basketball. It was hard. I started to feel Braxton Hicks contractions, but my internal mom clock knew that something wasn't right. So I go to my mom and I say, hey, something's going on. Like, something's really happening. And she tells me to call the doctor. So I call the doctor, and they basically tell me to monitor it for a little bit longer. And if anything progresses, to give them a phone call. I'd say about a couple of hours went by, and my contractions got worse. This entire time, I was still in school. I was still virtually in school, although school had shut down. Physically, we were able to still have virtual classes. So I was in Dallas, and I was still in school. While I was still in school, I tried to go to class that morning and was just not feeling it. Like, I was like, what's going on? Mind you, found out we were pregnant in January, so I probably got pregnant around December. This is June. So we are 6 months in, and we had just hit 23, 24 weeks gestation. but I knew something was wrong. So I called the doctor back. And they told me to go ahead and come in. I felt like I had the flu. My stomach was contracting. I was laying down on the couch. I had a hemorrhoid. I'm sorry for TMI, my bad. And I just felt like I was under attack. Got to the doctor, and she checked my cervix, she checked everything, and I was fine. But they still wanted to monitor me because they felt like something wasn't right. I was going through hell. I was going through hell. It was not fun. The doctors came in and gave me magnesium because they wanted to try to slow down the contractions so they could send me home. By the first day, I was like, bet, I'm going home after this magnesium done, and that's it, that's all. Sis, no, that is not how it worked out. And I was definitely getting ready to have a life-changing experience. So, after the first dose of magnesium, they wanted to monitor me and see if my contractions would slow down. But they didn't. And my twins and I stayed, because my mom did have to go home and get her rest. We stayed in labor in a hospital room by ourselves. I broke out into a absolute chill, and my entire body felt like I was in a freezer. Called the nurse in the first time and told her that I was freezing cold. I was freezing. I was shivering. My teeth were chattering. I was so cold. She told me that my nail just fell off. I definitely just, we're not gonna worry about that. Definitely press-ons. But anyways, the nurse came in and I told her that I wanted a blanket. But she couldn't give me a blanket because she wanted to make sure that I didn't have an infection. She checked everything, make sure that I was good, and finally gave me a blanket. She gave me something to go to sleep, went to sleep, woke up, and it was the next day. Went throughout the next day, nurses just kept coming in. Mind you, I was a high-risk labor. I went to UT Southwestern Clements University Hospital is exactly where I went and experienced my entire journey. But anyways, they came in, they tried to make sure that everything was okay. Wonderful hospital. And, you know, we just kept going through the ringer. Later on that night, the same exact thing happened, and I went into another chill. At this point, the nurses knew that something wasn't right. At this point, I was 24 weeks and 5 days pregnant, and 24 weeks exactly is the week of viability. So if you have your children before 24 weeks, the likelihood of them surviving is slim to none. After 24 weeks, they have a fighting chance. So I was 24 weeks and 5 days. They came in, did an evaluation, and I was 5 centimeters dilated. I walked into the hospital 1 centimeter dilated. And 2 days later, I was 5 centimeters dilated. So that entire time, I was in labor. At that point, they declared it a emergency C-section and needed to take me back to have my babies. So luckily, at this time, I was able to get in contact with my husband. I was able to get in contact with my mom, and was able to talk to my husband while I was in labor. And my mom got off work and zoomed on the highway. She zoomed on the highway and made it to the hospital right in time. So she was able to come with me to the back, to the OR to have my children. Had my babies via C-section. I remember being awake the entire time. I think, you never know at this point. And I did not hear them cry. I wanted to hear them cry so bad. I wanted to have them placed on my chest so bad, but that didn't happen. And they were immediately transported to the NICU at 24 weeks and 5 days. Seven days later, I lost my daughter. And that was the hardest, most unbearable, most gut-wrenching thing that I had ever experienced in my entire life. This was June 24th, 2020. Maria caught an infection called necrotizing enterocolitis. I believe that's what it's called. Basically, your intestines eat everything in your body. There's a perforation, there's a hole where the germs in your intestines start to come out, and they take over the acid in your body and basically eat you alive. 3 days prior to that, the NICU nurses told me that something was wrong and that she needed to be transported to Children's Hospital, and that's where they took her. So at this point, my twins were in two completely different places, and she needed to go into emergency surgery, and they needed to operate on her intestines. She's 24 weeks. She's like the size of my hand. And they needed to operate on her intestines. I stood there the entire time. I watched her go through everything. I watched her go through surgery. And she made it through surgery. Once she made it through surgery, it was to get through the rest of the night. And if she got through the rest of the night, they would patch her up and she'd be good to go. I watched my daughter at 24 weeks sit there on medication with her intestines dangled over her body in a bag. And I hoped and prayed that she would make it. But she didn't. Maria passed that night. Maria passed that night, and it changed my life. It changed my husband's life. It changed my mom's life. It changed my entire family's life. It changed people's lives that I do not know. But I had to keep going. I had to keep going. I had to keep my head straight, and I had to blaze through it. That's where I messed up. I didn't allow myself to heal as I needed to, and I continued to try to be strong. And that's when postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety hit very hard. I went through very, 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 very tough emotions that I did not know how to handle until I had my therapist. I contacted my therapist through the VA and have been working with them ever since. My biggest goal for this video is to reach out to any mom that is going through the same thing that I went through, that is going through, it doesn't have to be infant loss. It can be just postpartum depression alone. I want you to know that it is possible to make it through it. Okay? It is possible to make it through it. It is possible to stand on your 2 feet, even if you feel like you can't. Because I did. I am currently working on creating a group called the Muva Mommy Group for young moms that are going through the trials and tribulations that I went through. I'm talking body positivity. I'm talking self-confidence. I'm talking everything, anything and everything that you can think of that a new mom or a young mom is going through. Honey, I am addressing it because I've been through it. And I want you to know that it is possible to make it through it, no matter what, okay? No matter what. That is a short blurb of what I went through. And I probably have so much more to share. It took me forever to try to film this video because I was self-doubting myself the whole time. I was terrified of what I would look like and if people would get the video or whatever. But at this point, you just got to throw yourself in the fire and you just got to go for it, okay? You just got to go for it and see what happens. Mommies, I want you to know that I am here for you. I support you. And I have so many wonderful, 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 wonderful things that are coming your way. So thank you for watching. And I hope you liked my story.